Right, so Labour racism. Here I was. I was going to do two videos hitting the Tories today, actually. I had them both outlined. And along comes Labour MP Peter Kyle, and he dropped such a humongous clanger, my jaw practically fell off as it dropped to the floor. And not only was it during a news interview that he did so, but the news channel in question then did its level best to help deflect from it and cover it up. Kyle was being interviewed by Sky's Niall Paterson, who asked him whether the new SNP leader and Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf should suspend Nicola Sturgeon in relation to the issues surrounding alleged criminality committed by her husband. Kyle responded, well, what we do know for a fact is that the SNP is imploding. People in Scotland are being let down, have been let down twice by a government in Scotland that's imploding and a government in Westminster not delivering. So, of course, what we're trying to do is put together a credible alternative, an inspiring, hopeful alternative with credible plans to solve the challenges in public services in Northern Ireland, which are rife, the economy, which is underperforming because of two failed governments, which are there to serve the people of Northern Ireland, Scotland. Those are the things that we're an alternative to. A criminal investigation that's currently underway into the SNP needs to follow its course. I think that Mohammed Yousaf needs to get a grip on his party because right now they're not capable of serving the people of Scotland. And that's the thing that concerns us in the Labour Party the most. And our leader, Anas Sarwar, who is the most popular leader in Scotland, is out there to create the circumstances to be an alternative that the people in Scotland can have faith in. Because right now the people of Scotland deserve to have a bit of faith in someone. And the Labour Party is there to serve them. Well, ignoring the fact Kyle referred to Scotland twice as Northern Ireland, really demonstrating Team Keith's commitment to that country and how much it matters to them, when they can't even remember what country they're even talking about, Peter Kyle also might wish he hadn't mentioned faith too much near the end of his diatribe there, because he had, of course, come over all Angela Smith and her funny tinge moment during that piece, clearly forgetting the name of the new First Minister, seemed to vaguely recall he was a brown-skinned man and a Muslim, and decided to call him Mohammed. Not all brown-skinned Muslim men are called Mohammed, though it's a popular name, sure. Perhaps it's why you happen to pull that one out of your arse rather than just refer to him as First Minister Yousaf, which would have been safer ground if you'd had a bit of a brain fart over it. Instead, you ended up being pointed at as 50 shades of bigot between this and forgetting the country you were even talking about, combined with a pretty blatant case of Islamophobia there too. Of course, Peter Kyle is from the right wing of the Labour Party, though. He's very much Keir Starmer's sort. So naturally, instead of giving him the Corbyn treatment, Sky News locked their tweet of the footage to prevent people commenting on their tweet about it, their bit of video footage they put out on Twitter, as well as quoting Kyle as saying Humza Yousaf instead of Mohammed, as he actually did. Dishonest, misrepresentative, and covering up for what was a quite stunningly awful gaffe, which nobody in their right mind should have made. Whose mind goes there? We said it about Angela Smith when she made her funny tinge comment in front of Ash Sarker on Politics Live, and it's the same here now. I can't imagine what made Sky come over all defensive over this one. Oh, silly me, of course I can. He's not a rotten lefty, is he? Our media for you. Sewers. The thing is, you can lock tweets to stop people commenting on them on Twitter, but you can't stop people quote tweeting it and making their thoughts known that way. And boy, have people let their thoughts be known in that way. Here's a few of them. At time of writing, there were 205 quote tweets on Sky News' tweet and just five plain ordinary retweets. And from an account with over 8 million followers, that's bonkersly low. So it's been quite the epic failure. Quote tweeted responses include such as Labour MP calls Humza Yousaf Mohammed and Sky News reports it inaccurately and turns replies off. Shocking from Peter Kyle and not really unexpected from Sky News. Another said, that's not what he said though, is it? Stop covering up for this. Another said, but I thought Labour had a zero tolerance towards racism. I thought all racism in the party was ended the moment Keir Starmer said it was. Another said, English media running scared of Scotland. Hilarious. Imagine working for Murdoch the Crook. Another said, totally dystopian. Peter Kyle pulls a random brown person name out of his racist arse and Sky pretends it didn't happen. And another said, well now, what's the First Minister's name? Do all brown men have the same name to this guy? And then another said, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Mohammed Yousaf. Labour really showering us with the love, care and attention they are insisting they have for all things Scottish. And another said, remember that Jeremy Corbyn was branded an irredeemable racist for pronouncing Jeffrey Epstein's name wrong, but Peter Kyle calling Humza Yousaf Mohammed faces no backlash from the same people. There are many more, but that last one struck a chord with me, and although it remains to be seen, of course, if Peter Kyle does face any disciplinary action, we apply the Corbyn test to it. The Corbyn test being, would Corbyn have got away with doing this? And the answer to that is absolutely no chance. So Kyle shouldn't either. That people already expect nothing to come of this speaks volumes of how the public actually view Labour disciplinary measures. They're sharper on it and more clued into what's actually going on in Starmer's Labour than I think the Labour Party gives a lot of people credit for, knowing they are disproportionately weaponised against the left as their procedures are. What makes it even worse for Labour, if they ignore this, though, is that Peter Kyle is also an officer, not just a member, but an officer in Labour Friends of Israel. He actually had his own local members banned from debating a motion on Palestinian rights. But here's a guy, part of an outfit representing Israeli interests within the Labour Party, the racism accusations such as have been used against the left. Yet here we have one of theirs having made an Islamophobic comment quite blatantly on Sky News, and Sky News have tried to cover it up for him. Do they discipline him and show they're serious about stamping out racism in all its forms? Do you, Keir Starmer? Or do you give him a free pass because anti-Semitism is the only form of racism that actually matters to you? Or is it more important? He's a right-winger, so he's got a pass here, as Sky have tried to give him. Aside from all of this, though, Scotland is not important to Labour any more than it was before. They're simply salivating at the thought of those Scottish seats putting Labour back into power in Westminster. Anas Sarwar is another sodding Blairite. Starmer forced out the last decent socialist Scottish Labour leader in Richard Leonard because donors demanded it of him. In fact, he admitted as much. And you can only have a choice out of options Starmer will allow you anyway. And that's not a democracy. That's just an illusion of it. And this isn't even the first time Labour has had accusations of Islamophobia made against it either, not least of which were within the findings of the Ford report, which Starmer continues to ignore, along with shunning its author for not delivering the desired outcome, i.e. pinning racism in the party on the left again. It's also worth mentioning here that this happened in the same week that episode 3 of the Al Jazeera Labour Files documentary series has won the Gold Award for documentaries at the New York Festival's Film and Television Awards. Our UK media have ignored that series at every possible turn, but not the rest of the world. And it has been recognised as an exemplary piece and now an award-winning piece of investigative journalism that it is. And this episode is particularly notable, actually, since it covered the hierarchy of racism of the Labour right, and ignoring outright the racism perpetrated against Black, Asian and other minority ethnic people as they do. Well, here we have a staunch Labour right-winger and pro-Israel advocate mired in a racism scandal, all of his own making, completely in keeping, however, with the findings of Ford and Al Jazeera's coverage. You really think they give a stuff about Scotland? They care for nothing but themselves and power. Wriggle out of this one, Starmer. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this video, please do hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment and hit the notification bell too so you don't miss the next one. Also, look out for me on social media and other interesting stuff by clicking on the Linktree link in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Cheers, folks.